You are about to witness history in the making.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Pop Culture Gamers podcast. I'm Steve, of course, and with me is Haydn. How you doing, mate?
I'm fine. How are you?
No, it didn't jump me. So, as he is doing, and as you'll probably know by the link on the show, that this isn't a normal show. Today is Halloween, or tonight is Halloween. It will be actually when we post it. That's a bit of a trick on that one. And we did mention this, I think, in the last show. I think
we did.
So we haven't done a special for friggin' ages. I think a long time. So we decided to do our top 10 jump scare moments from horror movies.
Yeah.
So something slightly different. And yeah, we'll go backwards and forwards with our top 10. I've decided to say to Hayden that we won't know each other's, although we have just found out one of them anyway on Chit Chat, but
yeah.
We kept our list separate. Mine's here, yours is there.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see what we will pick. Just going to brief little bit of background over jump scares. So Hitchcock once said, "There is no terror in the bang and only the anticipation. But once the bang is over, the scene is over." And I totally agree with how these, and probably you will as well, Hayden, wouldn't you, that how jump scares work. There are good ones, there are bad ones. And there are ones that are there's too many in some films which just make them bad movies, I think. You know, you can compare it to probably something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that's got 2 jump scares maybe in it. And Silence of the Lambs, one of the biggest movies of its time, has none. You know?
There's actually quite a lot of films that don't have any jump scares that are horror.
Mm. But I think, and also the earliest jump scare that I can remember or know about, which I think is probably is the earliest one, which is back in 1942 with Cat People. And if you remember the sequel, but the remake, obviously back in the 80s, where obviously this woman thinks she's going to turn into a panther, but in this scene in this movie, there's a fake scare where she is walking down the street and you think you're hearing a panther. And into the shot comes a screeching bus with the brakes on. And from that, which was known as the Luton bus technique, named after the producer of the same name, filmmakers have mimicked that fake scare for years. And I think there's been so many of them over the years like that. Not sure if Hayden's got any regarding the mirror trope at all in there, but I think that's one we've all come across, and we've seen someone in a bathroom with a cabinet and the mirrors on it, and you know they move it from one side to the other, and you're expecting to see a jump go in there or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, and the mirror was first used with Roman Polanski's Repulsion back in '65, so they've been going for some time. And Hayden, I'll ask you one question, one more thing before we dive in.
Whatever.
Do you know what has the most use of a jump scare?
The music.
There's
the music.
No, I don't mean by that, but there's something that's been used the most in jump scares. Do you think you know what that is? I didn't know this until I looked it up.
No, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, it's cats, believe it or not. Cats have the most jump scares.
Really?
Now I can think of.
Well, to be honest, I can just imagine seeing, Cats, the movie. I would be horrified by that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Pet Sematary, Friday the 13th Part 2. There's a scene there of the cat with the survivor from the first one, Alice, going to the window with I think it's one of those ice picks or whatever you call it, or to get out the cork in a bottle, something like that. And she's there and the music's going and this cat jumps out. Makes everyone jump. I think I can't remember. I'm not going to say it off the top of my head, but Wasn't Jonesy and Aliens jumping around giving people jump scares?
Yes, he was. He was.
But anyway, so yeah, so what we do, we'll go vice versa. Do you want to start?
No, you start. Let's do your one first.
Okay, so my number 10 is going back to 1982 and John Carpenter's The Thing. And the scare I'm going to talk about is the blood test.
Oh, that's my number 3.
Oh, is it really? Oh man, what a good. Actually, I'm gonna put a number note here. I'm gonna go number 3 beside it. So
yeah. So,
do you want to start?
Yeah. So, there's only one blood test, isn't it? So he heats copper pipe, and then starts running it through the blood that he's taken.
Yeah, the cable. It's a reel of cable he's got.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I knew it was. Yeah, it was a bit of copper, but because he's got a flamethrower, and then on the testing of Palmer's blood, the blood sort of like explodes into life, and the monster
starts rolling around.
Yeah.
One of them starts shaking around. The other two are jumping around with the rope tied as the 3 of them on the couch.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a great scene, and there's so much going on from start to finish, even to the last moment where Gary says that, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when I've been tied to this, I'd rather not spend the rest of my life tied to this fucking chair. And I think, class, absolute class. It's a great scene.
Yeah, that was one of my favourite jump scares, to be fair.
I don't think there's too many actually jump scares in The Thing. I think this may only be the one, possibly. I can't think if there's many more. But I think this is well worth to mention this one, because I mean, I always like chat. Every sort of podcast I do, whether from here to the others I do, The Thing's mentioned somewhere along the line. It always has been, you know.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one off the bat. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is The Sixth Sense.
Okay, it's not one I've got, but can I guess what scene this is?
Go on, have a guess.
Is this in the bedroom?
There's a few scenes in bedrooms.
Oh, go on, remind me.
So this is the one where Cole starts breathing out cold air. So Cole is the child. And he gets into a tent, and he turns on his flashlight, and then the pegs start pop, 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 pop above him, and he follows the pegs with his torch, and then as he moves the torch down, there's a girl there, and she's like vomiting sort of like something that looks like green pea soup.
That's right, because she was poisoned, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She had some, was it arsenic or something? I can't remember now if that was the case, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember. You know, I forget the details of the film because I was just more blown away about what the big reveal is at the end of the movie. And I went, no, and immediately rewatched the film.
And then when you rewatch a film like that,
and then you think, oh my God. And for anybody who hasn't seen
how obvious is it though, when you know the reveal and you go back to it and you're thinking, I get it, I can see why.
Well, that's the thing though, it's not obvious because they did it so incredibly well.
But that scene at the dinner table with his wife,
but
know, and that was literally, you think they were talking to each other, but he was just sitting there having that conversation with himself, but listening to her.
Yeah, but people might not have seen it.
Well, to be honest, there's going to be a couple of spoilers in here for some movies.
Yes, this is a 23-year-old movie, so let's put it this way: we can't spoil a movie that's been on TV. If you haven't seen it, you're probably never going to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I did look at at that actually when I was going through it.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah, very creepy. Okay.
Yeah, but there was another one in there as well. That's an honourable sort of mention where it was the same girl, but she grabs his leg at one point in the movie, which was a bit of a jump scare as well.
Was that from under the bed or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she goes like that and pushes a box.
That's it. That's right. I remember that. Yeah. Because the way this work, I mean, I think the way these work with the camera shots and the way they try to throw you a curveball. Although you sometimes these days you expect that, and you've seen so many horror movies and sort of movies in general, you get to think, Yeah, I know this is again, but sometimes there's a twist to these little takes on it. Okay, number 9. I've got another film from 1982.
Go on then.
This is Poltergeist.
I didn't actually put Poltergeist on the list, so this is one that I won't have.
So you will know the scene because you got Robbie trying to get some sleep with the storm, and he looks over at the chair and across the bed, and he sees this clown just sitting there, which is freaking him out, and he tries to throw something over it. He's trying to get to sleep, and it's putting him off. And some people just don't like clowns. I get that, you know. And then he has another look again, and the clown's disappeared, and it's not sitting on the chair. So he then crawls off the side of the bed, goes to his head down to the floor to see if it's underneath the bed, and he doesn't see it. And as the camera pans back, the clown's on top of him, starts to strangle him and goes mental. I just love it. I mean, I had to put this in because, I mean, if it wasn't going to be this, it would have been probably it. I'd have found something from there. But Poltergeist has got more. It's got a mirror trope as well. Remember, isn't it?
It has.
With the face turning into like a zombie at one point with all that. So yeah, no, that's brilliant for me. And Poltergeist, you love that movie the same as I do. It's fantastic, and will never grow old, I think.
Yeah, you see, for me, horror, there's lots of different ways that horror works. It either works with jump scares, or it works with like the occult and demons and whatever.
Yeah,
or it's a hacker slasher sort.
I've got a nice mixture actually this time. I got a mixture of that. So I'm not bad.
I think I've got a mixture as well. I've also got some sci-fi horror involved as well.
Yeah, my number 8 is sort of in between the two.
I've got probably 3 in here.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay.
So, but yeah, and to me, what I don't jump scares, because it's generally quite obvious when there's going to be a jump scare, or pretty much, I bet they'll put a jump scare in here and it happens. I don't find them scary.
No.
What I actually find more sort of like creepy, scary is like things that have like body dysmorphia, or like the occult stuff. I find that, to me, is more horror than, like, say, stabber movie.
So more ghosts and ghoulies.
Yeah.
Than a madman with a knife.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like Halloween. While it's horror, I don't find it scary in the same way, because it's like real world, apart from like Michael Myers.
Yeah, I mean there are a few jump scares when Laurie comes across one of her girlfriends on the bed with the slab of from the gravestone on there, and then there's always a dark image somewhere, and as you go to that dark image, and her body falls out and swings away, and she starts to scream. And but I think a lot of them like to use the dark image as a background to what you think is going to happen. Yeah. Sometimes it's right, and sometimes they get it from a different angle. That's when you're looking at the camera to see where they've actually pitched it to do what they're doing, whether it's a long shot or a shot that never moves even and keeps it steady and does nothing. You just watch what happens. I think it's quite creepy.
Yeah. So anyway, my number 9 is World War Z.
Okay, you would have to remind me a lot about this movie because it's one I haven't seen for some time.
So it's a very obvious jump scare, but it's the one where Brad Pitt is leading a group of people, because his character's Jerry, and he's leaving. I think it's his family he's taking with him, if I remember rightly.
Oh, okay.
And they're in an apartment block, and they're saying they're all up. Then I think they've got to get to the roof, if I remember rightly. And they're like saying they're all over, and everything's all in red. It's like the red emergency lights are on, and he very quietly opens up the door to the staircase, and you hear like very quiet little clicks of the lock, and he opens up the door, and there's a zombie attacks you straight away. And and then it's like that incessant, zombie attack, because they're not your Day of the Dead zombies, like the only reason why they win is because they do it in, they win by mass, eventually, and people tiring out rather than anything. But these zombies are ones that will run after you.
Yeah.
And because to me, zombies is one of the areas that always creeps me out the most.
Well, it's funny because I can't think of many jump scares in some zombie films that come to mind. I mean, if I was going to think something like Dawn of the Dead or even Zombie Flesh Eaters, some of those older ones, they don't go for that sort of idea.
To be honest, if they do, it tends to be that they open up a door and a zombie attacks straight away.
Yeah.
And that was an example of that. And I think it did it okay in that, because I was sort of expecting it, but equally it was so quiet you weren't expecting it as well.
Yeah, you see, unfortunately, what happens with me when I'm watching a film and my wife's sitting next to me, I'm jumping because she jumped, and I wouldn't have normally jumped at that jump because she did. So she's more of a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
When something's going on, then she goes, "Oh, for Christ's sake,"
Yeah. Well, after years, I'm trading my wife into horror.
Yeah. Well,
so we're watching a midnight club at the moment. So.
Yeah. Well, my missus has seen all of that, and I think she's finished it actually because she watches more TV than I do, really. But yeah, she quite enjoyed that.
I think you'll quite enjoy that.
Okay.
So you're we've done your one, haven't we? So what's your next one then?
Number 8. Again, 1979. And in space, no one can hear you scream. So I've gone for Alien.
My number 6, I think this will be.
It depends what scare, though.
Well, there are a lot of jump scares in here, so.
There is. Now, what I've gone for, and I'm going to probably give a shout out to Sky at Film 89, because we have been chatting about other bits and pieces, and I was talking about this podcast we were doing for it. And I was coming to an end of, I thought, what are you? And I said, well, what guys do you like? And he mentioned this one, and I thought, you know what? I went and sat and watched Alien again. And I thought, yeah, he's right, really. So the scene for me is Dallas is in the air duct closing the vents. Oh, and yeah. And we know the alien's quite close, and he's using a flamethrower as he's put him down as he goes through that. And it's getting closer and closer and closer, and it's basically it's pitch black. What have you got there? Oh, I see.
Yes, I have an Eagle Moss figure of Dallas from Alien.
And he's got his torch, and when he turns around in the dark, and the alien sort of does wah like this at you, and it's only for a second, a very quick jump, but God, it does work for me.
Well, for me, I'll tell you what, I'll keep mine until.
Okay, yeah, no, we can do, yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. So my number 8 is Scream 3 from 2000.
Okay.
Now, the Scream movies are one of the ones that use jump scares several times throughout the whole.
Oh God, they do. But they're good films, though.
They are. I love the Scream movies. I've been re-watching them recently, and I want to get my son into watching them as well because I think he'll love them. But I love the fact that they're very self-aware, very meta, in their approach, and especially the earlier ones.
Well, that's it. When Wes Craven started doing this, it's basically he's ticking all the boxes of all the films that have come from beyond before that, haven't they? Yeah.
So for my sort of thing is the bit where Gail, who's played by Courtney Cox, is calling for help as Dewey, who's David Arquette, he's panicking, running around the house, and as he's going out of the front, out of the scene in one side, Ghostface jumps and grabs hold of Courtney Cox, and then they fight. They go into the hall, and then they fall down the stairs.
Right.
And then when Courtney Cox lands down the stairs, she whacks into a guillotine that happened to be in the basement, because everybody has a French guillotine in the basement.
Of course you do.
And then the blade comes down, but it chops off the head of a dummy that was in the guillotine. And the reason why I like that one is because it was a double jump scare, because it was, the sort of thing from Ghostface. But then it was also the threat of the guillotine coming down, and you thought it was going to get her, but it doesn't get her, it gets the dummy.
Yeah.
But that's why I like that one.
Oh yeah, because there's quite a few. I did look at Scream and I was just browsing a few things, and I think in the first 20 minutes with the intro to the first film.
Oh, the Drew Barrymore one where she's outside and he's inside.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she looks up, and then he turns around and goes through the window at her. That's great.
Yeah, it's a very good one for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, my number 7 was a last minute entry, as they say, because I did take out a couple and put a couple back in.
Oh, no.
But because there's about 7 movies of this genre, I thought, where am I going to go to with it? So I went to number 2. So we're talking about Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
And there's a scene. So obviously, as we all know, unless you're living under a rock, what these movies are, they're fly-on-the-wall cameras with demons and ghosts around the houses. A few of the first films are linked together quite well. And this shot in the second film is a camera right in the corner of a kitchen, and it gives this big expanded view of all the cupboards, drawers, the little bit in the middle where you sit there and have your breakfast, and you've got all the hanging utensils and stuff like that. And so you've got Kirsty Ray, who's in the house, and she's reading a magazine. It's dead quiet, and all you can hear is a little noise. No music. It's just deadly silent. And for one big loud bang, of slight noise at the same time, all the cupboards, all the drawers open together in one almighty chaotic bang. And she's screaming, she's petrified of herself. And I remember seeing this in the cinema, and I think I remember doing the same, actually, jumping in this one. This is quite a few. I don't know how many of these movies you've seen.
Not that many.
Yeah. But I've seen them all now. But the first 2 or 3, I think, were the best ones. With this sort of documentary style fly on the wall. And I think they're going to do another film, apparently, I've heard. But I really love that. And that that sort of quick jump scare does get an effect in the audience.
Yeah.
Than me, anyway. Okay. Your number 7.
My number 7 is It Chapter 1 from 2017.
And I didn't put... so I nearly did put something in for this.
So, for me, this is the one where all of the kids have the projector.
Yes.
And they're going through slides, and then there's a slide of the clown there, and then Pennywise is there. Then the lights go out, and then the lights come back up, and the slide's still showing, but the clown's not there. And then the lights go out again, and then come back up, and there's a giant Pennywise there, and he starts coming at them.
And the kids are having kittens.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think it's quite a few little jump scares in those movies. More in the first than in the second, I think, because I weren't too keen on the second movie. It wasn't as good.
Yeah.
But that's a good choice, actually. I did look at thinking about putting that in there. But see, we can be different, can't we?
We can.
Okay. Number 6. I've actually got it on the screen now. I'm not going to show you because you can't see it. It's actually running at the moment. I've had it on once today, but I've just got it on in the background.
Okay.
So this is Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell from 2009.
I haven't seen it.
Really?
Really?
Honestly, there's as much as some people say it's a slight comedy-ish a bit. There's so much good stuff in this movie. So, do you want me to fill you in about this movie?
I doubt it's going to be what I'll watch, to be fair.
No, honestly, trust me. It is well worth a watch. Honestly,
Okay.
It really, honestly, it really is. I think it's a corker of a movie. So
that's fine. Just answer it as you would normally. Don't worry.
Anyway, so the base of the story is that let's just change screens now. Wait a minute. So a loan officer evicts a woman from a home through the bank, and she's like a gypsy type style old lady, and because she gets evicted, he puts a curse on her, and she's got to try and save her soul. While meanwhile, evil forces are keep trying to drag her into hell. Anyway, there's a scene in the movie where she's had a bit of a rough day. She's in bed with her boyfriend. He's asleep, and this fly keeps trying to enter her body. So first of all, it tries to go in via her nose, and then goes in via the mouth, and she starts to cough, and she sort of wakes up and sits up. But the camera hasn't moved, and as she lies back down to go back to sleep, the old gypsy is in bed instead of the boyfriend, and turns around on top of her. She is screaming blue murder. Her mouth opens and vomits all these insects all over it and into her mouth, and then she suddenly wakes up. It's honestly, mate, if you've not seen this film, it's well worth it. I know there's some bits and pieces in there that would you would think, oh, I've probably seen this before, because he does play it on some of his old movies a little bit and what he's done. But if you just watch the trailer for it, you will. And actually, the trailer shows a bit of the jump scare, but it doesn't show it fully. Oh, it does actually. Yeah, on Internet Movie Database. But well worth a watch. One of my favourite films. Sure of that.
Fair enough.
Back from 2009. Okay, so what's your number 6?
My number 6 is one you've already mentioned, going back to 1979 and Alien.
Oh, okay, yep.
And mine was a chest breaker scene, because this was my first jump scare in a movie, I think.
Oh, yeah, because I'm a little bit younger, but older than you, so yeah. Okay.
So I remember seeing that for the first time and not expecting that to happen at all. You know, obviously I was a lot younger. I know it was an 18, but I think I saw it when I was about 10.
What was that, on VHS?
Yeah. I remember being amazed by the scene, but also creeped out to hell as well. And it just, great scene.
Well, it's funny because the actress that plays Cartwright, and they say they weren't told how this scene was going to pan out to get the most instant reaction.
They didn't know they were going to get so much blood.
No.
So they knew something was going to happen, but they didn't know.
No. So it was half the secret was there and half of it wasn't. But that gave the reaction it did and what they were looking like.
Yeah.
And if you look at her, I think she freaks out big time. If you just notice her on her own.
I don't blame her, to be honest. And John Hurt was brilliant in the way that he put that across as well.
It's probably one of those. If you're going to say there's like horror moments or film moments, you know, in history, that scene.
I would say that scene is one of the greatest scenes in movie history.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, it'd be certainly in the top 50.
Yeah, I always say this film's a masterpiece in its own right for me. We talked about it on the last podcast I did with Film 89 regarding scores, and that was in our list. You know, an Alien, the score, how it looks, everything about it. It's nothing wrong with that movie at all in any shape or form. And yeah, no, it's there's nothing you can do to change it. Some people like to edit movies, don't they, from old and give them a different look but that you don't need to do anything with it. It's just fine as it is.
Yeah, it was
and obviously
really well executed movie all the way around.
And it spawned so many sequels, which some are great, some aren't so great, maybe. But yeah, and it just probably put Sigourney Weaver on the map. Even though if you look at her there and look at her sort of mid-80s, doesn't look like the same person. She really grows up. She does,
but she was so much younger in the 70s, to be fair.
Yeah, she would have been, yeah. No, that's class. That's very good. Okay, what are we up to?
5.
5. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to 2013. Big jump in time.
Okay.
To a movie called The Conjuring.
Not seen it.
Okay. So this is about paranormal investigators, and really this spawns a load of movies with the director. With James Wan, you got the Sinister, The Conjuring, Annabelle, all these creepy sort of ghosty type movies. So there's a scene. The character Caroline Perron's walking around the house at night. It's dark. There's loads of creepy noises going around, and you can hear voices. And she's going, "Who's there? Who's there?" You know, like she's going through each room. And obviously we've got a basement involved in this one. Of course, we all have a basement in America. We don't have basements in the UK, do we? So
not here, not very often.
Not very often.
Old house.
Yeah. So she heads towards the basement, and she's just going down the stairs, and she thinks, "I don't want to go down there." And it's all lit up though. Next thing is the door slams on her head, pushes her down the stairs, and she falls down into the basement. And as she sort of comes to her senses, this ball comes bouncing in a shot, just bouncing on the floor, which gives her a bit of a freak out. She turns around, the light bulb blows up, it's pitch black, and she starts to crawl up the stairs, back up to the door at the top of the basement in the entrance. And as she gets to the top, she turns around and she does what I wouldn't want to do. She gets a match out and lights it, and the light and it burns out on her finger, so she lights the second one. Then you can hear this little voice saying, "I'm gonna play hide and clap," and these hands come from the left her and go, and she shits herself. So did I. It's really, really effective, and all you see is the hands in the dark in front of. So this is behind her where the door is, so there's no room for a person really to be there. But those hands just come out on their own and just do like that. Freaks her out. It's just brilliant. I mean, the jump scares in these movies, and there's plenty of them, work very well. And I do like these sort of type of movies. They're really really my sort of stuff. But yeah, you want to check some of them out. I think they're probably on Netflix, maybe with any luck or something like that.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
All right, number 5 for you.
Number 5 for me is The Woman in Black.
Oh, I nearly put this one in. I nearly didn't. Because one of my boys, I remember we watched it, he freaked out so bad about this film.
So the particular bit that I'm talking about is Daniel Radcliffe's in this room. I can't remember if it was a bedroom or whatever. I've only ever seen it once, but
yeah.
He's looking at a window and there's a handprint on the window, and you can see his reflection in the other pane. There's like 2 panes of glass. The left one's got this handprint and the right one's got his face. And as he puts his hand on the pane of glass, suddenly his reflection changes and a woman screams at him.
Yeah, I think I've seen this film twice, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, but they had a real like massive audio burst as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah, which it would have been
with it, but
yeah,
it was quite an effective jump scare.
I mean, I think there's a few in this movie, if I remember right. There's a few bits and pieces that do this to you. And I think this is the first film after Harry Potter film, wasn't it? I think.
Might have been.
Yeah. And I think there was a sequel as well. I don't know if I saw that. I just remember my kids freaking out at this movie. It did not go down well when they went to bed. It did not want to go up them dark stairs.
I bet it didn't go down well.
But they were okay about it. I can't remember what certificate it was. It was only a 15, wasn't it? I think
something like that. It wasn't
It wasn't an 18, was it? But yeah, no, I like that. I like that that film. That's a good one. Okay. Next one. Number 4.
My number 4.
Well.
I'll tell you what, I'll because this is the one that we've got the same.
Okay. So what's your number? What's number 4?
Well, if we do, because we're out of sync, because I won't have one to answer. So if you do this one together,
no, actually, go on.
For
carry
number
on.
3, yeah. So number 4 is Carrie.
And so's mine.
1976. Oh, is
And so-
it?
yeah.
They put it in the same place. And it's just at the end of the movie when Sue's placing flowers on Carrie's grave and then Twiddlers and then rah, and up comes a hand and grabs onto
Well, yeah, because
to her, and then it shows you a mother holding onto her, sort of like waking her up.
yeah, because when you first go back to the next day and her mum's on the phone talking, saying that we've had all these reporters around. Oh God, my God, just had too many of them, and she looks a state.
Yeah,
that's Amy Irving, and yeah, and then the next thing is you see it like as if it's a dream, and she's walking around with her bare feet and the music. I like that sweet music from the Carrie themes playing, and you've got the cross because all the house burnt down. And spoilers, it's an old movie. Carrie and her mum died.
Yeah.
And you see like a for sale sign with like a cross, and it says Carrie White burning hell with an arrow pointing down into the ground. And yeah, she puts her knees down to the floor there. She's got tears in her eyes because I think she actually regretted what happened. She wasn't really for it as much as the other girls were out of school. And yeah, that hand comes out with the blood all over it, and the music changes. And then you say her mum's holding him in roughly the same place, and it's freaking her out. And she's just actually gone mental with the music going in there as well. So is it a dream or is it real? That's the question, probably.
Yeah.
But I think when jump scares started in the 70s, I think this was, I'd say, this is the second one compared to one I want to talk about later, because this one is 1976. But it's one earlier that I like. But we'll mention that one later. But it's nice that we had them both number 4, actually. That was quite...
Yeah, that was good.
Because we thought, oh no, that means we're going to have to... Don't worry about it, it'll be fine. We'll see where we are with it.
Okay, well...
So you haven't got a number 3, have you?
No, because it was the thing. The same,
yeah.
Same scene.
So my number 3 is Friday the 13th. Now, it might not be a film you've probably seen. I don't know.
I've seen them all, yeah.
So this is the first movie, and from all the events that happen at Camp Crystal Lake, there's only one survivor, and that's Alice, and she's in the canoe. And you've got the sweet music playing, her hands gently touching the water because she's laying there, and you think it's all ending nicely.
Yeah.
Next thing,
she just killed
her mum.
Her mum, yeah.
The mother.
Mike Myers' mother.
Not Mike Myers. That's the wrong movie, but yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Voorhees' mum.
Voorhees' mum.
Jason's mum.
Jason's mum.
And then, you know, the hands there, and you think, oh, this lovely music. Next thing, out of nowhere, with the one big violin concerto, that Jason jumps out. And I tell you what, even I jumped in the cinema when I saw this, and drags her down into the water. And the canoe goes over. And the next thing is you see her up in hospital, where she's talking to the police, and they're saying about Jason, saying, the boy, is he there? Is he there? What boy? Jason, he's out there. It's, for me, it's one of my favourites. And I say I saw this in the cinema, and I think the whole audience jumped at this. We didn't know what was going to happen. There was no internet. All we had was the Fangoria magazines to probably read about this at the time, like I used to buy. And yeah, still one of my top favourite, to my top 5. This probably never will change. And compared to the others, I mean, they never had anything like that again. I don't think, even right through the the whole 8 or 9, 10 movies. I think Jason X was 10, wasn't it? So yeah, and I love every time Jason was going to kill in these movies, you'd get the going on, but there was none of that there. It was just that sweet music. So yeah, freaking love it. Brilliant. Cool. Okay, we'll go to your number 2.
Yep. You do 2, or shall I?
Oh, I can do 2 if you like. That's fine. So my number 2, and we don't really have any shout outs in this as such, but I'm gonna give her a shout out because I did have a direct chat with her. So Diane Prince on Twitter, she deals I can't remember now. I was talking to her about horror because she's into horror big time. She was in Halloween Ends as well. She was a receptionist in that. And I asked her just off the cuff, what's your favourite jump scare? And she said this one. So great minds think alike. Anyway, so this is The Exorcist 3.
Okay.
And I'm going to call it Night Nurse. And that doesn't mean anything to do with the drink that you have to get to sleep. So the base of this film is set in a hospital, and there's one guy in there in like a mental institution of it that's strapped in there that is what we call the Zodiac killer. But that's a side bit to this. So what's happening here? We've got one shot, we've got a corridor, we've got the nurse in red, we've got a security guard and dim lighting, and that's all you have. The camera doesn't move. There's like a 2.5 minutes of watching security guard eating his lunch, fiddling around, then he goes outside through the back door and disappears, and the nurse on her own. The nurse goes into a couple of the rooms on the left, is in there. Anyway, sort of 2 minutes goes on, there's no music, no nothing. And as she comes out of the left-hand side room and she goes to turn right to go towards the reception desk, there's an almighty noise of screech. And this person in white is walking behind her with a big set of shears opened up, ready to take her head off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen this when you were Google searching? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think this is one of the, I always wanted to put The Exorcist in there, the original, but there's not really jump scares as such in that movie. But this one is so good, and it does give you that jump because you're waiting for something to happen. You think something's going to happen, something's going to happen, but it takes so long.
It was kind of like almost comical though when you look down that corridor and you see her walking from one room to the other across the corridor, and there is that nurse coming behind her with shears.
Yeah. And then you get the image of the head missing on the effigy.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a good movie. I say don't watch Exorcist 2, it's crap. But if you ever get a chance, watch the third one. George C. Scott takes over the role from the copper in the first movie, and it's really good. It's the best version is Legion, which is an Arrow, which I've got. So if you ever want to see that, it's well worth it. Okay, so that's my number 2. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is from 7.
The finale?
No.
Okay.
Picture the scene, heavy music. They've tracked down the killer to this house. The police are in there. Mills and Somerset are in there. They walk into this bedroom. There's a body under a sheet on the bed. Take back the sheet and there's a decaying husk of a body. It's got sores all over it and stuff like that. And then somebody goes, oh,
you made me jump then, yeah?
Because it is still alive. It's the sloth victim.
Oh, right, yeah, because I haven't seen 7 in, I can't remember when I last saw that movie. It's such a long time ago.
Yeah, that was one of my favourites, because when you looked at the guy, you thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Because it was like, the skin was, quite clearly very severely dehydrated. And I remember them saying, it's like looking at his mouth, going, my God, he's got no tongue. He ate his tongue to keep himself alive. And it's sort of like, oh my God, it was just utterly gross and disgusting, but it was very well done.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. Yeah, I remember the ending, if I remember rightly, with the box.
Yeah.
But that's as much as I remember the movie, to be fair. And I can't hear how old it is. It must be getting on a bit, hasn't it?
95, so it's 27 years old.
Yeah. God, that's frightening even more, isn't it?
Yeah. And Brad Pitt still looks freaking young. It's not fair.
Doesn't he? I think it's sort of that Benjamin one film we did where he was working in reverse order, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's probably like that in real life. Right, okay. So my number 1 then, yeah? Okay. This was my first film in the cinema because this was 1975. Where I've been obviously seeing Bond movies earlier in the year and Disney movies and whatever. This is Jaws. And
I'm guessing this is underwater.
There's only one jump scare in this movie, really. And if I say Ben Gardner, you know exactly what I mean. So when I saw this in the cinema, I went to Maidenhead I think it was an ABC. We queued around the block for ages to get in. My dad broke his arm. We got a taxi up. So as you know, and we know this very well, Matt Hooper, and he's going to go in the water after seeing a boat when they went out to see if they could find the shark with his sonar and everything else. So he gets himself set up, goes underwater, and he's got there, and he can see a hole in the hole there, and he can see like a tooth sitting there. And as it said slightly later, the size of a shot glass, as he says, he pops it out, and he's expecting this. It's massive, isn't it? It's quite big in his hand. And suddenly the music starts to change, and with Jaws, you know something's going to happen, but you don't know what. And the music changes, and it seems in slow motion to me, but it isn't, I think, too much. And there you see Ben Gardner's head start to fall out of the boat, staring at Matt Hooper with sort of little worms hanging out of its eye or something.
Yeah.
And he freaks out, goes to the top. I think he's actually sick, I think. I think he actually threw up. My mum jumped out of her seat so freaking high. I think she touched the chandeliers at the top of the cinema. Absolutely jumped up. And yeah, fantastic. Just one of the best there is out there. Considering this was that early in cinema history, should we say, from the point of where jump scares go, even though the ones we talked about earlier from the, much earlier. I don't think there's too many jump scares in the 70s, but this one will probably always be.
No, it was the 80s that really took the jump scare.
Yeah.
As a tour de force.
Mm. I've seen The Head, by the way, as well. When I went to Universal Studios, there was a place where they showed you makeup, and there was a guy demonstrating with blood and stuff and that. And in a glass case was Ben Gardner's head. I've got a photograph. I'll chuck it out there.
Yeah.
And what can I say about that film? It's just perfection in its own right.
It's your favourite film, isn't it?
Oh well, yeah. It's up there in many different forms. So. Okay, but you never thought of that one, did you, in your list at all? Did it come to mind or not?
It was one that came to mind, but I it was probably about my number 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But it's probably got more of a tie for you because it was your first jump scare. In the same way that, the other one was for me.
Yeah, with Alien, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your number one?
My number one is Event Horizon, 1997.
Okay, I've only seen that twice again, that film.
So Weir, played by Sam Neill, is crawling through those tunnels, and if you remember, one of the tunnels that he's in is like square, and it kind of like looks a bit like the text of the Matrix all around the sides of it. And he's crawling through all of the tubes of this disappeared spaceship. The lights keep flicking in and out, and then the lights go down, lights come up, and there is his dead wife, soaking wet, completely nude, and she doesn't have eyes. She has just holes, holes where her eye sockets are just exposed.
Yeah.
Because obviously the big thing was that they took their eyes out, wasn't it? But,
I need to rewatch that. I need to rewatch that movie because I can't remember it very well, to be fair.
I think you'll probably enjoy going back to that. It's in that movie.
No, I think if that's your number one, I need to actually rewatch it. Because I don't really remember too much about it. So, is there any shout outs? Is there anything you thought you wanted to put in there?
Yeah, I was trying to remember the movie. It was Samuel L. Jackson, I think.
So you're about Deep Blue Sea when the shark comes out and drags him.
That's exactly the one, yeah.
Because that is really quick and simple, that one, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, he's literally given a speech the way Samuel Jackson would give a speech. And then behind the shark comes out, grabs him for lunch and takes him down. And two sharks have a fight over his legs.
Yeah, I think I would have probably featured that one further up, but all of these other movies I've watched more than that, and I would say I've watched that once. I always remember that particular scene.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember anything else about the movie. That was all I remember about it.
I think not this year, it might have been last year, I actually went and revisited it. Because I think we went through a moment we were sort of watching a few shark movies, like the newer ones that came out, like the Meg and stuff like that. And I don't think my missus actually remembered it at all when we watched it. One comes to mind for me, which probably could have been in my top 10, is the final scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, the original.
Oh yeah.
And Freddy's gone. It's all finished. We're all happy, and they're all mum and dad have survived and everything else, and it all seems very sweet and innocent. The music's cute as well. And the kids all get out, meet up with the rest, and they get in the car, but the car hood closes over, and you see the colours of Freddy all over the car as it drives off, and you see two little girls playing skip in the rope with the tune, and the mum's going away smiling, and the next thing is you see she's got at the porch door, you've got like a little window in the middle, and the hand of Freddy comes in, grabs the whole body and pulls it through the actual, so the mum goes actually right through the window of that little, it's only a porthole size. And that one always comes to mind, actually. Very effective.
I'll tell you another one that always comes to mind. More of a deliberate, quirky, jokey one is Beetlejuice. Can you be scary? Can it be scary? What about this? That one.
No.
That scene's brilliant. The way that only Michael Keaton could pull that off the way that he did.
No, I like. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. I'm trying to think. So I can't remember it too much about the film. I've only seen it once, but there was the Babadook. That was a bit creepy. Quiet Place, I think, had a couple in it.
Yeah.
What else was there? I think there was a few more on Aliens, to be fair.
Well, there was the thing about in Aliens where they said, why is it still coming towards us? And then they lift the thing up and shine the torch down, and all of these aliens.
There's about 15 of them all in a row, sort of coming to get you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same when they were actually when the facehugger escaped, and they were trying to find it. And
even going back to the first one, because I was flipping between. Do we say when
you got that light stick, haven't they? And they got the tray.
When he looked over the egg at first, and the face grabbed onto his face. I was thinking should have put that first, but I thought no, because I was more expecting that. I wasn't expecting it at the scene where it was like, oh yeah, you're all right now, and everybody was laughing and joking. It was just like another day on the Nostromo.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this happens. So that to me was why it was a better jump scare. First one, because you kind of like predicted something might happen with that egg, whereas you weren't expecting it. You certainly weren't expecting a lead character to die.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm just having a little think. Now there was, I think The Orphan, that was quite a good one for jump scares. Don't remember it too well, but I know my missus jumped a hell of a lot in that movie.
Not seen that.
Yeah, again, this is on that same list with Annabelle and everything else that came out. But yeah, no, it's funny how horror movies do this to you, and we get a rush from it. You think, we just come out worse for wear. I think it's the adrenaline rush of a horror film, and you're coming out feeling exhausted and sort of terrified, but you sort of get off on it, and it's bizarre, really.
It is, but I think I'm starting to appreciate genre more nowadays. I was never really that into it, but
yeah,
I think it's probably because now that my wife's sort of developing a taste for it after, she used to watch the other sort of horror, like Corrie. Whereas, sort of, and that was, I would much rather have watched a more scary movie than a single bit of that.
Yeah. There is actually a couple others that come to mind, and that's from The Evil Dead 2. And you've got the mirror trope, but it's slightly different. And you've got Ash is there covered in blood, looking at the mirror, and he jumps out of the other side of the mirror to himself and shakes him up. It gives him a bit of a scare. And there's a second one where he's looking at his girlfriend at the time, who's dancing in the forest, and disappears, because I think he's thinking of her from the first film. And all this smoke comes along, and he's looking out the window, and next thing is someone comes rushing at the window, which is boarded up with all the planks of wood and that.
Yeah.
They're just great, those films.
But to me, the jump scare things, it's entirely different to being the best moments in horror. Because if you're talking about the best moments in horror, that's an entirely different metric. Because there are sort of like things like in The Fly, for example, where Jeff Goldblum does what a fly does and vomits on that guy's leg, and he
melts
sees
it.
his foot just go.
All the acid comes out.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of stuff. That to me is much more horrifying than a jump scare.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different metric by which you would do it by. But
I think it's just going to keep you on the edge of your seat. I mean, it's like it's more of a jump scare for the character this was than it was for us probably. But when you got American Werewolf in London, and the main character, he's in there going into the cabinet, and again, this is the mirror trope, and it's pulled back, and you see his friend in the mirror, and he jumps more than I think the audience do, as he's decaying slightly, Yeah. And the same thing with that. Even Shaun of the Dead had a jump scare in it with the mirror when he's in the bathroom, isn't he, getting ready to go out, and his best mate who got bitten the night before, he's sitting there looking out of the shower.
Yeah, and he pulls it back, and it's
yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, it's really good. I like that. Even though this seems a very short one. Anything else you want to bring up that you got come to mind?
The shower scene from Shaun of the Dead was things that I was thinking of as well.
What about the shower scene in Psycho? Because although that's very slow paced, because you see the shadow, I think that still works.
To me, a jump scare is something that you don't get anyone. I think with all of mine, I don't think that there's been, other than maybe 7, where you're there with the character, but you were expecting the character to be dead, because it didn't appear to be breathing and stuff like that. So I would say with all of mine, the ones I've chose, there have been just those sudden moments, rather than something like Psycho, which was building up, and you knew it was going to go to somewhere before you got there, sort of stabbing, which in itself is a classic movies, but to my mind, it was very. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like those fake scares. I mean, Amateur Horror, when the lead character is sitting there by the glass, and this cat comes up to the window and it freaks him out. But nothing to do with what's going on in the movie. And in Silent Hill? Do you remember that movie? There's the Pop-Tart scene where she's having a Pop-Tart and her husband's there and she freaks out over the Pop-Tart popping up. Remember that? But these are just fake. They're not real jump scares. They're just there to try and get you to jump. I mean, and they say a lot of those 90s movies did do a lot of that, with just walking around the corner. But then again, I always thought The Shining would have had a proper jump scare, but it doesn't really have one. Although you're following the camera when he's on his tricycle and he's going around on the carpet, and as the camera follows around and you see the corner and you see the girls at the top end.
I think there was more jump scares in Doctor Sleep.
Mm. Oh yeah, there's no. I don't think The Shining has any. He doesn't even need them, to be fair.
Doctor Sleep does use them.
Mm. Yeah, I should remember that because I only watched that about a week ago. But a week's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. Okay. So what should we call it? Should we call it a night then on this one?
Yeah, let's call it a night. That's another special done. First one for God knows how long.
It's probably going to be about an hour and 20 minutes, maybe, if I'm lucky. I don't even know. I haven't looked at the clocks this time, so.
Can't remember what time we started. I think it'd be about an hour, to be fair.
Oh, that's all right. That's not too bad then.
Not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so should we go through the rigmarole at the end?
Yeah. Do you want to do yours first?
Yeah. So Twitter at Steve07. And my YouTube channel is called The Vinyl Cues. And my gamer tag for the gaming side, Steve07 for Xbox, and the real Steve07 for PlayStation. I think that's about it.
Yeah. And for me, it's HERJ UK on Twitter, PSN, Xbox Live, Steam. And then on the Epic Game Store, it's Pop Culture Gamers. Don't forget, you can also follow us on Twitter as a show at Pop Culture Gamers. We have our YouTube, youtube.com/Pop Culture Gamers. You can email the podcast at popculturegamers.co.uk, and our website where you can download the show, anchor.fm/Pop Culture Gamers.
So everyone have a spooky night because it's Halloween.
Yes,
I'll
indeed.
certainly I'll get my mask out to scare the kiddies if they come knocking on my door because there'll be sweets here. But yeah, so it's a spooky good night from me.
And it's a spooky good night from him.
Good night, guys.
Good night.